So for number one, this is number 30, right? Uh, First of all, the first column is the y equals. So when it says like 2 right here, it means y equals 2, right? So this is y equals 2. So it really depends on you knowing that when you graph y equals 2, you remember that, okay, that's a slope of 0, and the y-intercept is 2, and it's a straight line. So here's y equals 2. Now, the only difference, though, is that you're going to start or stop, or both, at a certain spot. So it's not going to be the entire length of the graph. It's going to be starting at a certain point, right? And this x stands for this x. So this 4 is right here. So that means you're going to start right here, and that's going to be an open circle. There's no line underneath. So right here, and it's pointing to the right. So the graph is going to go to the right, like that. Now, some people prefer to draw the whole line like I did, and then they kind of figure out where it goes and what the right direction is, and then they erase the rest. That's fine if you want to do that. Oops, yeah, and there's your final graph. So you can just erase the part that is not to the right of 4. Right, not too bad, right? Let's see, let's go down. I'm going to change this one just because it says greater than as well. Change this to a less than or equal to. It says it's the same thing as number 1 above it on your paper, but change it so we're not regraphing the same exact thing. So same idea though. We have to know that this is y equals 2. So right here, and x, go to x, and then 4, it's right here. And this time it's less than or equal to. It has a line underneath, so that's going to be a solid dot. And this goes to the left, so it's pointing to the left, less than. Okay, so it's going to be going this direction. So that's your final graph. Right, and then at the end yesterday, we threw in some slopes and things like that. So like number 5, you flip it over. So you have to recall that, well, 2x plus 1, how do you graph that? So 2 is the same as 2 over 1, of course. So we're going to start at 1 on the y-axis, positive 1, and up to right 1. So up to right 1, and we can go both directions, which is down to left 1. Okay. But we only want to graph it from -1, x equals -1, and to the right. Okay, so remember that means graph to the right, greater than. It points in the direction you want to graph. So x-axis, go to -1, right here, onto your line. So that means right here, and it's going to be an open circle. That's open circle, no line underneath. And we're going to graph to the right. So we only want to graph that part. So it does help to use pencil here, because if you make a little mistake, you can always go back and erase a little bit. If you do it in pen, it's really quick. So whether they're horizontal lines, like here, it's still the same process. Graph the line, and then look at the restriction here. Find X, find the number, right? Go to your line at that number, and then go left or right. So whether it's diagonal or horizontal, it's still the same process. Right, maybe one more. So graph both of them. So let's do graph 3. Now, once you get the hang of it, you can look over here, right, and say, okay, start at 2. And somebody else recognized, well, isn't that like, well, X and Y, isn't that like 2 comma 3? Does that mean that's going to start because it's Y equals 3 and I'm starting at 2? Yeah. So if you go to 2 comma 3, that's where it begins. It's going to be a closed circle because of the line here, so closed dot. And then since it's pointing to the right, you know it's going to the right. So if you can put that together and do them at the same time, that makes sense, that's fine. If it's easier to do just one and then the other, like I was doing on the others, that's fine as well. And then right here we have, yeah, 2, -1, right? And it's going to go to the left and going to be open circle. So I can go to 2, -1, open circle, and then that goes to the left. All right, so give those a shot. Go ahead and finish up through 8. Check with someone, and then we'll go over the remaining. Really make sure you kind of can do these on your own as if we're going to take a quiz at the end of the period. If I picked 3 of these at random, you'd be okay with that because you understand how to do it. No problem, okay? All right, give you a little bit of time to work. So on number 9, make sure that we know the slope and the y-intercept. So what is the slope when there's just an x there? What number is really there? Yeah, so that's 1 over 1. We got to know that. So we're going to start at -3. Thank you. And it's going to be up 1, right 1. Okay. And you can go ahead and draw the line and erase later, but if you can see that without drawing the line, all right, we need to go to the x-axis at 3. Okay, here's 2, here's 4, so 3 is right here. So my line is going to start right here. And since this is greater than, it's going to be going to the right. So this points the same direction the line goes. It goes to the right. So you just follow those dots and then erase these few that we had there. And lastly, we can do here. We know if it's just a number, it's a horizontal line. So go to y equals -6, y-axis. -6 is down here. And if you haven't caught on yet, where one ends, the other begins. So if you already have one that's graphed and you see here it starts at 3, you notice how this one starts at 3 as well. So that kind of helps you know where the next line should start up. So we're going to be on y equals 6, but we need to start back up right here at 3. And only time this thing is going to the left this time. It's going to the left. Like that. Right? And notice how you're going to have one that is open and one that's closed. You'll never have them, or you should never have them both open or both closed. And this has to do with your work yesterday, if you recall, where it said like, oh, 1 to 2 hours, it cost like $4. And then it said 2 to 4 hours, it costs $6. So both of these had 2 in them, and we had to have a way of figuring out, well, which one does it cost? Does it cost $4 or $6? So we always said, well, they're probably going to charge you the more expensive, right? So we made this a closed dot because that's going to be the real cost. It's going to be $6. So we put an open dot on this one. So we knew that's just where it's going to jump up to a new price. So it usually goes from, always goes from an open dot to a closed dot in some way or another. Okay. So, yeah, don't really need that. There we go. I think that should probably suit you for the rest of these. Just remember that when there is no numbers here, like on number 12, it's a 1 over 1. Okay. All right, so I'll let you guys work the rest of the period. You got about 20 minutes, so should be able to finish up the rest. Make sure your name's on it and turn them in.